Hello Clash fans, Trample Damage coming at you today with the Giant Arrow Aiming Tutorial. And I know what you're thinking, but Trample Damage, how can you teach me to aim the Giant Arrow? It's so hard! Very easily with this layout right here. I am going to be including photo mode. I will include a copy of this in the links below so that you can see this base and download it and then practice aiming against it. I am going to teach you guys a couple of different tricks, namely the basic positioning across the base, the idea of being able to hit. So one thing we're going to show you is just like very simply firing right across the middle. You can see exactly how wide the band is. We're going to do a couple things like trying to shoot a couple targets at the same time, using other areas to move through them. And one of the things I'm going to show you about this base is drop the Archer Queen on the outside of this cannon and it will fire right across the entire base. Oops, close that. Photo mode. It'll go right across the side of the base. If we also wanted to hit, say, like this air sweeper here, we could do that by seeing this line of wall pieces through this wizard tower. So at the very edge of this wizard tower, we could deploy the Archer Queen and pop the arrow, and it would fire straight through all those wall pieces. We could also do something like hit this air defense through the same wizard tower, but we're going to have to change the angle. So we're going to show you the angle, which basically what you're going to do is draw a line through the buildings that you're trying to get, and then you're placing the Archer Queen where you'd like her. And one of the challenges is, and we'll see this, the closer the buildings are to whatever you're shooting through. So if we were trying to hit this builder hut through this wizard tower, there's a lot less of an angle of precision that we need because they're so close together. But the further and further and further away we get, what you can see is if we wind up having the Archer Queen perfectly in line here with this cannon, it goes all the way through to the other cannon, but a slight change in her angle can change the trajectory of the cannon very widely. So we're going to wind up showing you some examples of that. Of course, I do appreciate it if you are subscribed to all my stuff and you are listening to my podcast, Inside Clash with Trample Damage. It's the greatest podcast in the world. Now, I will show you, I'm human, and it takes practice, and I've been doing this a lot, but like all of my attacks, I'll just show you, all my attacks that I wind up making, for the most part, start with the Giant Arrow. Never mind, this is my 3 of everything attack that I've been tinkering with. So let me find a Hydra army. Here we go, Hydra army. And what I'm trying to do in this one, I'm almost guaranteeing I'm going to try and hit this poison and this air sweeper. And I would probably try to do that by drawing a line through, maybe through. So here's actually one of the tricks that I'm going to wind up probably showing you. Even though a perfect line would basically put the Archer Queen needing to be on the outside of this blacksmith, we probably can position her right here, and we don't necessarily go directly through the poison spell tower. Oh, we missed it anyway. So yeah, that's not the best example, but that's what I was trying to do. I was trying to aim through the poison spell tower. I was trying to aim through that. Let me see what other attacks I have in here against Don Milone. So this would probably be coming in, I would imagine, behind the sweeper and maybe hitting one of the poison spell tower with the sweeper is probably what I'm going for. Yeah, that's what it looks like. So we're gonna Archer Queen. Oh, perfect example. Hang on. Don Meloni. Here's the first bit of the tutorial. We want to go through this poison spell tower and this air sweeper. But in order to do that, we'd probably want to go through this Archer tower. But if I put the Queen right where she'd be able to reach the Archer tower to get that angle, she would not actually be in a perfect position. So what we're going to do is back her up a little bit, let her target this wizard tower first, knowing that once the wizard tower goes down, she would then wind up being in the perfect position already. Because you can see here, she's not going to move at all. She's just going to turn, aim at the Archer tower, then we can pop the Giant Arrow. It will go through damaging the poison spell tower, taking out that air sweeper, following it up with 2 lightning spells to finish that off, which has to happen quickly because the builder huts can potentially repair them before you have a chance to go. So that's the kind of thing we're going to show you in the wild, right? I wind up making these attacks. We'll show you how I practice these, and some of these, I am human. We do make mistakes. So let's go here where I started with getting the Grand Warden statue. So these are the kinds of things I'm going to tell you to practice with this base to help improve your aim. In order to get the Grand Warden, you can see we have some dots that are these wall pieces that are essentially trying to show you what you would need to do to line up to be able to get that Grand Warden. Now it's going to be the same type of thing we just showed you. We can't hit the elixir storage directly first. We have to let that cannon go down. So we're going to wind up aiming first at the cannon, but we've positioned the Archer Queen right along this diagonal so that we will be able to get the Grand Warden after taking down the cannon. And of course we now pop off that giant arrow and we wind up getting not only, what is that, a builder hut? It's a builder hut. I think it's a builder hut. Yeah, a builder hut, and we hit the Grand Warden statue. And you can see from this, the Grand Warden statue was not necessarily, it didn't go through the dead center of the Grand Warden, but what it did is it actually went it didn't go fast enough. You can see the aim though, it went just through the bottom of him. That's one of the things that we're going to wind up talking about, is there is a little bit of margin for error. So that's one example of how to use this base, practicing against the Grand Warden. Another thing I will tell you is practice trying to get the monolith. If you want to get the monolith from way down here, and it doesn't matter what building you're using, pick anything to aim at and try to find a way to get to it. If you want to go through the monolith, the bottom corner of the monolith passes through this builder hut, and it's basically on the lighter tiles. Don't use the pixel scenery. This is actually, I had some issues in here that you'll see in a minute. Don't use the pixel scenery. Use something else where the ground's a little easier to see. That will help you at least get the practice and the repetition that will get you where you need to go eventually. So this wall piece, this wall piece, this wall piece, still a light tile, this wall piece, still a light tile, all these light tiles down through here, corner of the barracks, the two portions of the gold storage, corner of the gold mine, which means we basically need to go through this elixir collector in order to get the monolith. But much like we did with the last arrow, we aren't going to be able to have the queen target that first without it then shooting the arrow off this direction. So we're going to wind up placing the Archer Queen down here. Archer Queen, where are you? Thank you. Archer Queen is going to wind up being positioned below the corner of this elixir collector. And once she takes those two out, you can see she is in the perfect position to be lined up to get the monolith. We go right through all those buildings, and presto, the monolith does wind up getting damaged. Now, pretend that monolith instead was a spell tower or was some other building that is important for us to hit, like an air defense. Definitely practice trying to get the smaller buildings though, because spell towers and air sweepers are the majority of what I'm aiming for. So I do want to show you one more thing here. 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. The arrow went through these two buildings here, but because it clipped the corners of these, it also took out all of these as well. So you do see that there is some room, there is some wiggle room where the giant arrow damages all these buildings. So you don't have to be perfect. You just have to be right in that same neighborhood. So here I'm saying I want to get the air defense. So specifically, I'm trying to target this air defense all the way across the map, but aiming through the wizard tower. Now you can see what we've lined up here are these wall pieces and this portion of the air defense and this wall piece, which if your walls are maxed, you're not going to be able to tell all of them apart, but I tried, so it is what it is. And we're trying to get the air defense, but we want to follow this path right here, which if you just drew an arrow out on the base, you would need the Archer Queen to land roughly somewhere right around here, which is where we place her, immediately launching into the giant arrow, and she catches 1 and 2 air defenses all the way through. That is a very common thing that you're going to wind up wanting to do when you are practicing with this giant arrow attack. So let's go now. Here is just going straight across from the wizard tower. So this is, let's say that we wanted to get this air sweeper. And the nice thing is we can follow the lighter tiles all the way across where the walls are nicely laid out for you. You can see all we have to do in order to get that is drop the Archer Queen right at the edge of this. Now, a lot of times what I'll do is if I try to place the Archer Queen right there from here, sometimes she'll wind up in a much different spot. So what I'm doing is a lot of times I will zoom in as close as I can so that I know more clearly where the Archer Queen is going to be deployed. Then I'll quickly zoom back out, switch to my lightning if I'm going to be also doing something like blasting this spell tower, which I would have missed anyway. I don't know that that spell tower was necessarily intended to be hit, but maybe it could have been. So that's something you could certainly practice. A lot of times you have to zoom back out quickly to make sure you see where to use your arrows. So let's see, get the air defense from the cannon, and apparently I missed on this one. So we're going to say from this cannon, we are, this is a good example, right? So, did I not go straight across from the cannon? Oh, here, I'm going to look at that one first. I'm going to go back here, direct across from the cannon. So this is one of the, if the targets you need are right along the main diagonal on the side of the base or from top to bottom, it's one of the nicest things to get. 1, 2, 3, I'm going to go in slow motion, and you can see it going right through here, popping every single one of those wall pieces all the way across, including the cannon, when you are able to deploy the queen directly in the corner. That's one of the best things to do. If you can get the stuff you want along that main diagonal, you are definitely in good shape. Now, I missed my first shot trying to get this air defense because what I'm essentially trying to do, and this is where you can see there is the further the target, because we're hitting this air defense way on the other side of the base, the further the target, the more minor you're going to wind up seeing a differential. So we're going to show you here where we missed. So there's where the Archer Queen got placed for the miss. I'm going to take a screenshot here. That way I'll put that back in here in just a second. So we tossed the arrow and we missed pretty widely, right? We came very far from hitting that. So we're going to jump back out of here and we're going to go in and look at the next one. And we're going to see where we place the Archer Queen in order to... Pause, stupid. I'm going to do that again. So, and of course, now my Wi-Fi is cutting out. Go back, triple damage. We want to be able to look at that again. This happened to me earlier. I had some Wi-Fi issues, and I'm going to wind up hanging... So bear with me a second until my Wi-Fi comes back. Okay, my Wi-Fi is back. That was annoying. All right, we're going to go back up here, and we're going to go through the second of these arrows, and we're going to go... We'll just actually let her land. Pause. And I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Hopefully it's in a similar position as the other one, and she looks like she's in such a similar area, but we do manage to wind up getting the air defense on that one. So practice getting some of those targets on the other side of the base. We're going to go... Now I wanted to get the air defense through this army camp, and this is where I ended up switching from the pixels. I think I was a little confused, largely because there's a massive wall of stuff in here, but a lot of times on the maps you can just use the alternating colors of the tile. So really what this means is we should be going straight across from here through this decoration, through these wall pieces here, through Otto's hut, through these wall pieces, through this tile, this tile, this tile, and directly through the center of this army camp, then dropping the Archer Queen on the corner. When I was first looking at this, she really needed to be lined up with what would be the space right above this. I needed her lined up directly on the corner of this army camp, but I misjudged where it was, thinking I was going to need to get it a little bit off kilter. So I thought, okay, I'm going to have to wind up popping the elixir sword first, and then the cannon, and then be able to shoot through the army camps. But unfortunately, I was down a little bit low, and so I missed the air defense a little bit high. And I said, oh, okay. And I just assumed I placed her in the wrong spot. I recalibrated my positioning and then basically put her in the exact same spot because I counted the tiles again, but I was doing it quickly, and of course this is something that can potentially throw me off, and I basically repeated the exact same thing that I just did. Then I said, okay, wait a minute. And I recounted and I looked at it and I said, oh, I see. I need to be directly even with the army camp. So I made myself directly even with the army camp, and then went ahead and launched an arrow, Archer Queen, and bang, we got the air defense. And then I said, you know what? I think part of the reason I was having trouble with that is because I needed to be using the regular map, which I switched to because it's a little bit less grainy and granular. And then I dropped the Archer Queen too low anyway, again, and I missed. And then I hit it on the last one again. But I really this is the kind of thing you get practice at. Okay, a couple more examples. Pause. How many more examples do we have here? 2 more, just the last 2 and then we'll let you go. You can get back to stuff. So these 2 air defenses here, if I wanted to get these 2 air defenses, I want to just get an idea of where the middle of this air defense is. The middle of this air defense runs along through the upper edge of this expo, through the bottom edge of this builder hut, directly through the top edge of the scatter shot, the bottom edge of both the spell tower and the clan castle, and then the center of this wizard tower, which also is the center of this... Nope, it's the upper end. Ooh. Oh yeah, the upper end of this air defense. So if I were to fire through the center of this air defense, I would essentially, and it was perfectly straight across the map, I would hit the bottom edge of this, which would basically be the center of this elixir collector. But in order to do that, I have to get the Archer Queen to step up. So what we wind up doing is placing the Archer Queen in a position. Now, hidden Teslas, skeleton traps, stuff like that can mess her up, especially if they start running away. But the nice thing is that as long as she's basically in range to target a building, she will not wind up moving from there, even if a Tesla or some skeletons pop up, because it has to be in range for her to be able to get it. So we see here, we drop her, she gets the gold mine, she gets the spell factory, she takes 1 step directly to the air defense, and we are able to launch the giant arrow going through exactly what we looked at a moment ago, the bottom edge of that wizard tower, the bottom the bottom edge of the clan castle, the spell factory, the top edge of the scattershot, destroying the builder hut, and of course then destroying the air defense through the bottom row of the air defense. This is just another base that I don't have included in here because I was trying to find just a random example of something. So I looked at that base and I gave myself that as a target: air defense and multi-archer. The last one that I want to show you is this Warden and Rage Tower. So let's say that I told you, okay guys, once you get the Warden, we want you to get the Rage Tower. How would you wind up getting it? Now you might wind up thinking, well, I could go through this Dark Elixir storage, and if I pop through the Dark Elixir storage, I could get there. So maybe I start my queen somewhere right around here. She'd be able to destroy a few of these buildings, then step up and take a shot at the Dark Elixir storage. But what I wanted to show you is this is actually what I'm going to wind up doing. I'm going to be targeting essentially the upper portion of the Grand Warden's statue and the bottom portion of basically around here of the spell tower. And if I were to draw that line, I actually wind up somewhere down here near this elixir collector. So my plan was to get the Grand Warden statue and the spell factory, the spell tower, through this elixir collector. So visually, I'm doing this, and I should probably show you an example of what I do. Maybe I'll record live some other time. Like I'll zoom out and I actually draw a line on the screen with my finger, like an imaginary straight line on the screen with my finger, which you could do a ruler if you want to. That actually doesn't sound like a terrible idea. And so we drop the Archer Queen there. We wind up putting her in a perfect position to get through here, and you can see exactly what's happening is what I was going for. I'm actually leaning my head to the side looking at this angle. So we're going through the bottom portion of the Grand Warden and then up through that wall piece, like I said, to be able to connect with that Rage spell tower, and then of course continuing on through to hit the sweeper and that bomb tower. But that is the kind. Now, hey, let's check this out and see if we could get it using the other method. We can do this one live. Do it live, trample damage. Start this. Let's try and see if we could pop this thing going the other direction that I was saying, coming up through the Dark Elixir storage. If we were to try to get the queen, if I put her really, really, really close to here, she might destroy all of those buildings from where we are, and then step up, get the gold storage, and then as soon as the gold storage goes down, we might be able to, we got the spell tower. And I was cutting it pretty close because we were going to be coming from a lower angle, but we did manage to connect with the spell tower and with the Grand Warden statue. So it's tricky and it takes a lot of practice, and I've been using this attack for about a month and a half in Legend League, but with this base layout, you will have an opportunity to continue practicing, and you can do this with any layout, but this one is just nice because it's got a couple of wall bricks to let you know how closely you're lining up with all of what you're trying to accomplish. Then of course you can tweak it, mess with it, make your own targets, but here is a great base for you to work on. Again, if you enjoy the video, make sure to follow me or subscribe here on YouTube, follow me on TikTok and Instagram and everywhere else I wind up posting content, and listen to my podcast, Inside Clash with Trample Damage. You wind up hearing all of my wonderful vocal range, including all my fun, goofy songs that I put in there. So share with a clanmate, make sure to subscribe, follow me for more, and we will catch you guys on the next video.